this video, I should offer a little caveat first that it's a work in progress. Blender 2.8 isn't fully realized yet. It's still, I'd say it's in beta maybe. But yeah, here's the Blender build page. You can get the latest, was put out today, and this is what I'm using for this demo, which is a Windows 64-bit Blender 2.8 right here. And so what we're trying to do is get Blender to behave in the way that Maya does as far as navigation goes. So here I am in Maya, and typically we hold down Alt left mouse to get your spin, toggle viewport, hold down Alt right mouse, or excuse me, middle mouse for your pan, and then your right mouse is your zoom. So those three. And in Maya we use W.E. and R for your translate, rotate, and scale. And then the Q key brings you back up to the pointer tool. So just kind of transitioning back and forth between Blender and Maya, it's nice to have those plus, you know, your typical navigation all be the same. And a couple other features would be like your focus, which I may have to save for another video coming soon. And the other one is isolate select. Where is that? I had a hotkey set up in Maya, but it's one of these guys here. My hotkeys aren't set up right now. Usually I have it set up. Anyways, so that feature actually isn't even available at all, from my understanding, in Blender 2.8. It is in 2.79. So when that becomes available, I'll show you how to implement that into your 2.8. So now we're in Blender. Go to Edit, User Preferences, and then under Input, this is where all your hotkeys take place, and your there's presets for Macs, Blender, and Maya. Your select width, there's various stuff you can mess with. What I like to turn on is the emulate 3-button mouse, because in Maya I always use the scroll wheel as another, like a third button, so you have middle mouse control. So Blender will, currently its middle mouse will toggle spin your viewport, and shift middle mouse excuse me, is your pan, and just scroll wheel to zoom in and out. So we're going to change that. The other thing we need to change are these guys. But we want those to be W, E, and R. But W, for instance, already has a hotkey assigned to it. Same with R, which is rotate. Blender actually has all these, has hotkeys for rotate, translate, and scale. It's just that they're set to R for rotate, G for translate, and S for scale, which is fine if you want to relearn that, but it'd be nice to take advantage of what we're used to and utilize these guys. So let me go back to this. Pardon the noise. So first we have rotate. We'll do. So under 3D view, rotate. We'll just uncheck that. Now when I'm in here and I go hit R, nothing happens. So I can go over to the rotate here, right click it, assign shortcut, and hit E, right? Because it's W.E.R, translate, rotate, scale in Maya. So now when I hit E, that's working. Okay, so the next one, let's see if we can find scale. So it's not showing up, right? We can also try resize. There it is. So sometimes when you hover over these, you can see it says resize. So we want to uncheck that. And so for scale, we want the R key. So we'll right click, assign shortcut, hover over this, hit R. So now that's working. So next one we want to do is translate, which I already set, but you know how to do it. You right click, hover over, and hit W. But first we have to remove W from the context object. And so that's a little tricky. So when you search, you might, search for move, and it won't come up. And then you can search for translate, and that'll come up as G, but we're not worried about G under 3D view. You can leave that if you like. We want that object context menu, which is actually a call menu. And it's actually here. So let me show you what that looks like. So that's this window we're trying to get rid of. I already had it unchecked, but so it's search for call, and then under object mode, uncheck that call menu for the W. Now when we have this set, you can see your move is working. Translate. Yay! Rotate works, and scale. Another thing I should mention is when you go into, we had these hotkeys set up in object mode, but when you go into edit mode, you'll run into issues where you hit E and you're extruding, for instance. So you'll go back into edit, user preference, and then under 3D view, mesh, you'll search for E, basically is how I do it, which is right here. Extrude and move on normals. and then you can just add the control modifier or whatever you like that works. And so now it's Ctrl E to extrude, and E will call up your rotate. So that's one issue that may come up in some of these. So like W brings back up that mesh context menu as well within edit mode. So that's once again another call menu. So let's see. So that we unchecked it under object mode, so now we need to uncheck it under mesh mode, which is here. Mesh stand, you know, kind of coincides with edit mode. So the W, take that off. So yeah, now it's working. And just a reminder, when you get kind of to how things are the way that you want them, be sure to save user settings, which is right there. You can also export your key configuration, and that way if anything happens, if you upgrade to the next 2.8 build, you can just import right here those key configurations that you had set. So yeah. So excuse me, the last thing we want would be the Q key from jumping between move, rotate, scale back to your pointer tool or select tool, which is really it's a marquee tool, right? It's both a select, pointer and a marquee tool in Maya. In Blender, they have a select border and cursor. So they kind of split that, from my understanding, into two different things. And they function differently, right? So currently when you hit Q, does nothing. So let's check in the let's just try it. Let's try right-clicking this, assign shortcut, hover over, hit Q. Yeah, it works. Okay, so in the last build, they had Q assigned to favorites. So like I said, 2.8 may keep changing. I don't know if they'll reassign that. So if they do, you'll just have to, I'll probably update it, but you would just have to go into your preferences and uncheck whatever Q is assigned to, and then this should work. Okay, so next we have this issue, right? So we can try our preset to Maya, emulate 3D button mouse, and what that will do is you're now using Alt left mouse button instead of the middle mouse, and then it's Shift middle mouse, right? So for your drag pan, which is still different than Maya, because Maya is only Alt. Alt left mouse, Alt middle mouse, and then you even have right mouse. So that's as far as I've gotten with that functionality. In my next video, I might be able to update you guys with how that's working. I do have, if you search for ink reality on Gumroad, there's My Alt for Blender, which is a toggle and pan navigation utility. And this is just a free download. It utilizes the open source application auto hotkey. And let me show you what it does. When I activate it, I also use this in Maya actually, but it allows me just to touch Alt and then this becomes active. So I know you can't see what I'm doing with my hands, but I'm not holding down left mouse button and I'm not holding down Alt. Once it's active, it holds all those down for me. And then if I hit Shift, I'm in my pan mode. And all I have to do is touch it once and release, and it activates it. I touch it again and release, and it deactivates it. So it's like a mode that you can use so that you're not constantly holding down Alt or Shift. So this is what I use. I don't have to hold down the left mouse button or the middle mouse button. It works fantastic in Maya because Maya doesn't have any sort of hotkeys or functions that interfere with it. There is a little bit in Blender, but it's pretty easy to get around. So like I said, as 2.8 develops, I'd like to update these videos and help the people who are transitioning over from Maya use Blender a little bit easier. A couple other issues, for instance, let's say we're in Move, and when you click outside of the box, it's still moving. In Maya, if you're in Move, when you click outside of the box, it's actually a selection, right? And you can use that as a way of deselecting, which is awesome. That's the way it should be, I think. So I intend on making a video to show how to do that once I figure it out myself. And then the other thing, like was mentioned, was the isolate select, which again is this guy. It isolates your selection. 2.79, I was able to get that to work, but from my understanding 2.8 doesn't have it yet. So when that becomes available, I'll show you guys how to do that. So anyways, I think that's it. Cool. Thanks for watching.